Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us at the Product Marketing Festival. Before we start this session, we just wanted to give a big shout out to all of our sponsors, partners, and festival attendees for helping us make this happen. Don't forget to check out our AMA site, both during and after the festival. We've got lots of speakers taking questions after their talks. Enjoy the session.
Hello, morning everyone. Can people at the back hear me okay? Okay, super. I hope you're all having a great time at the conference so far. I am learning so much. It's been amazing, and I've had the opportunity to speak to many of you here as well. So that's really going well for me and really the purpose of why I'm here at the conference as well. Really excited to be presenting this next section, and we're going to be looking at how product marketing can drive change in the face of disruption. And I'm going to be giving some examples from my own time at Booking.com and how we've adapted a successful marketplace for a new supply category, homeowners. Before we start, a bit about me. So I've had a bit of a non-conventional start into product marketing. I started off as an engineer. I've been in tech for a while in different capacities. And the last 8 years, I've been doing product marketing for the travel tech sector, first for airlines around the world, and then now with Booking, I am leading the global segment strategy and product marketing for homeowners and small businesses. And it's a bit of a mix between an individual contributor and a team management role. And that was in one category I saw in the Product Marketing Alliance report yesterday. So maybe we can build it into the questionnaire for next year. So before I get into the thick of the presentation, can I get a show of hands, please? Who may have used Booking.com here in the past? Love this show of hands, thank you. So most of you are actually familiar with what Booking.com actually offers, but very quickly. So Booking started as a small Dutch travel company back in 1996. And now 3 decades later, it's one of the largest travel sites there is out there. The mission is simple. It's to make it easier for everybody to experience the world. And at this moment, we actually provide the widest selection of accommodation options for a traveler to choose from. So over 29 million listings, or 29 million options for somebody to choose from. So if you've been using Booking, these are typically the kind of places we proudly have on our platform. Beautiful luxury resorts all around the world, beautiful 5-star hotels. You can choose from alternate accommodations as well. You want to book a tree house, an igloo, a houseboat, we have it all on the platform. And then something changed a few years ago. We had people who had spare bedrooms or a second home. They started registering their properties with us. And this was obviously in order to monetize that extra space and to make some money out of it. But for us, this was a bit of a difference in terms of the supplier we were used to working. So we were used to working with professionals, professionally managed hotels and homes. And here we had someone who was kind of new to hospitality and was basically offering the same product, right? The functional need that I want a place to sleep for the night is still being solved, but coming in at a slightly lower cost, lower price point than a hotel, and without the bells and whistles that a hotel would normally offer. So you probably wouldn't have a nice hotel lobby or a welcome desk or extra services that you can dial and call for restaurants or laundry or dry cleaning. But we saw that this lower price product is actually quite a hit with our budget conscious travelers. And we have seen this happen in the market before, right? So if you want to read a book, people are actually very happy buying an Amazon Kindle versus actually paying for a full-blown tablet. You want to get directions, you're actually fine pulling it up on Google Maps versus having to pay for a navigation device. You want to learn a new skill, people now actually prefer the cost and flexibility that online learning platforms provide to you versus having to enroll in a full-time school or university. So if we go back to the situation with Booking.com and homes, this is what it meant. So to the outside world and to travelers, what they could see was some homes on Booking.com. The situation for us internally was slightly different. We were seeing a lot of homeowners actually call us. Our customer service call volumes were a bit all over the place. Partner satisfaction rate, which was generally good and stable, was beginning to dwindle a bit, and retention was becoming a bit of an issue. So people were joining, but they were dropping off equally fast. And for us, this was a bit of a disruptive scenario for us in our normal day-to-day business. So as marketeers, we all know, traditional wisdom tells us that it takes time for a product to go mainstream, right? We all need to work towards crossing that chasm. We need to get the innovators, we need to get the early adopters, we need to get the early majority, and then potentially our product could go mainstream. But what if the situation looked like this? New technologies have made product life cycles much shorter. And what if the opportunity out there was trial users and everybody else, not only for us, but for anybody who wanted to capture this particular segment? What do you do in a scenario like this, right? So the simple response, the logical response is, let's react to it as fast as we can. Now, the disclaimer I'd like to make is that in order to react to a situation like this, it needs an entire organization to steer and change its direction. But I'm going to be speaking a bit about how product marketing is actually very well placed to help in a scenario like this. And also, just to bear in mind, I mentioned that Booking is a company that's 3 decades old. That means it's got its ways of working. Product marketing was a new function, and we had to basically influence strategy for an audience we didn't know much about. So I'm going to be sharing learnings, and I've divided the learnings into kind of these 3 categories. And these are the 3 pillars of what product marketers do. You have heard them in different shapes and forms since yesterday. So the first one being the who and the why, really championing the customer and the opportunity out there. The second is how do you build and communicate that value? And then the last one is a bit of a formatting issue, I see. The where and when, so the go-to-market and the launch. And basically, when you have to respond into a market with a really, really competitive product marketing, we have seen, has to be really closely involved with the first 2 phases before you can even have anything to launch, per se. Okay, so let's start. Chapter 1, who and why. New audience, it meant that we had to start over with understanding the audience. And when you are given a new challenge or you have a new team, the number one pain point we saw for product marketers in yesterday's report was lack of resources and lack of influence. And that was the situation we were in. But in order to understand an audience, what we have learned is that if you don't have researchers, it doesn't mean any excuses, because as product marketers, we are the ones who have to have the final understanding of the end consumer. So you can actually drive a lot of research yourself. This is what we have learned in the course of time. So let's make it a bit more tangible. If I were to divide up a lot of the research techniques that we in Booking use on 2 axes, behavioral versus attitudinal, qualitative versus quantitative. Now, there are a lot more research techniques out there, but these are kind of the main ones that we use. And let me break this down for you. So the top right-hand corner is basically all your data and analytics, right? So you have a Google Analytics dashboard to see what's happening on your website. The bottom right-hand corner is the surveys that you sent out towards your users. Hey, how has your experience been? Can you rate your experience on a particular scale? The bottom left-hand corner is basically contextual inquiries, and this could be on your website. You can have a pop-up questionnaire. How's your experience? Is there anything amiss here? This could also be in person. And then the top left-hand side is basically unstructured qualitative observations. And for us, we have seen that actually a lot of the qualitative research techniques that are out there, product marketing is very well suited to actually lead and do themselves. Now, in certain cases, it might be nice that you want to take a quick training. How do you do a moderation interview? It might be nice to take a quick training before you go into it. Or if you have researchers in adjacent business units, it might be nice that you actually run your methodology by with them. Hey, I'm planning to do this. Does this make sense? And that also elevates their role to consultant, right? And you can then go out there yourself and do a lot of this yourself. So let's see a few examples. Can I have a show of hands in terms of who here is familiar with the term dog fooding? Very nice. So that's like 50% of the room. A technique which is commonly used in a lot of tech companies and also beyond. It's basically when you try and test your own products and services. And this is especially important if you yourself are a potential user of that product. So in Booking.com, we encourage everybody, not only product marketing, to actually try Booking.com themselves, both as a traveler and also as an accommodation partner. So actually, like my entire team, we have actually been through the experience of registering our own properties on Booking and see how it is as a homeowner on the platform. We also encourage everybody to actually do dog fooding on a competitor site. And once that is done, you compile a nice report, you share it. We use a lot of collaboration tools. So this one is actually on Workplace. And people tag all the relevant teams who could be affected, who could benefit from those insights. And this is great if you have a product that's being continuously worked upon and optimized by even other teams. So you get like a steady, fresh flow of insights from it. And it also helps create accountability immediately. Another technique that we use is called partner shadowing. Anyone familiar with the term shadowing? Perfect. So the simplest way to put it is that, let's say you have a new employee in your organization. You must have come across the situation that they reach out to you, a new product marketer, let's say, hey, I want to learn what you do in your day-to-day role. Do you mind if I come and sit next to you for half a day? Do you mind if I follow you around in meetings? So this is what we do even with our users and our clients. We go down to their properties. In fact, this Monday with our team, we went and visited 2 of our accommodation partners in London. We go down to their apartments, we go down to their homes, and we have conversations with them as they're working their day out. Right from the time they're actually cleaning their properties until the time the first guest arrives. And this particular photo is with some of my team. We went down to a beautiful bed and breakfast in Ghent, which is in Belgium. And the photo was taken by the owner himself while we were actually chatting with him. And one other thing that you can do, which is great to build empathy out, within your organization, is we host what we call Ask Me Anything or partner panels, wherein personally product marketers, we have reached out to a lot of homeowners. We say we are doing an exclusive event. Why don't you come down to the head office? And then we invite everybody in the business unit who could be working with that particular category. So we invite data scientists, copywriters, researchers, everyone. And we basically have a discussion, 2 hours, questions back and forth. And this is really, this is also a great, great way to put really a face on the user for everybody in your, in your organization. Because you can look at numbers. Our numbers were telling us that, okay, a lot of homeowners are joining us, but we had no idea what do they expect from us, why, and how can we actually create the optimal experience for them. So speaking to your end user really, really gets you there. Okay, moving on to the second learning in the who and why is that, especially if you work with agile teams who are changing focus all the time, the product marketer is the one who has to have the full snapshot of the user. So try and create that long-term picture as you're gathering all of these different insights. And a couple of ways you can do that is basically define an inspiring North Star vision for the category. As you're getting all this information, try and segment your users into different groups. Try and quantify those groups, attach personas to them. Create the journey map. What does their current experience look like versus an ideal experience that you would like to provide them? Benchmark what you are providing versus the alternatives that they have in the market. And these are very, very, we were lucky that we had designers to actually help build this for us. But back in the day, I've created them from PowerPoint and free icons on the net. And there are a lot of free tools that you can actually use to create these kind of nice visuals and also a complete story for your audience. And this is great because it's great for leadership team to explain to them things in a nice, engaging way. It's also nice for adjacent teams that may not be working on your category immediately to get them on board. And the last learning we had in the who and why is that you do all this, and then you may still be asked the question, okay, why should I prioritize this? And you may be asked this question from your product teams, from senior stakeholders. And in a scenario like this, what we realized is it's best to frame your insights in the context and in the framework that stakeholder is best used to. So again, people who work with agile product teams would be used to this. A hypothesis or a user story is the most basic unit of a sprint that a product team is going to be working on. It's basically, in Booking.com, we have a best case framework. It's an educated prediction of what a change could lead to, right? So let's go through this exercise. Based on data, partner feedback, instinct, we believe that changing a certain condition for users will make them do this, and we will know this when we see effects on certain metrics happening. And this will be good for our business because of this. So for homeowners, let's say, based on feedback and the numbers from Google Analytics, we believe that removing one additional step in the registration process will actually make them complete the registration process even more. And we will see this when they call us less and they complete the registration more, right? So why this is important is if you are in a structure similar to ours, where product marketing is essentially sitting with product, and we are part of daily stand-ups, sprint planning exercises, everything that's there in the orange, product marketing has a lot of input into. So that's one way to channel your insights directly into the product team, because no point of insight sitting in a report, right? We have to actively make sure that they are being used. Okay, we zoom out a bit. If you are maybe not so much involved with your product team on a day-to-day basis, but you still want to help them prioritize the right things. So what we also do is opportunity analysis in terms of should they pursue segment X or segment Y? Or should they be working on, let's say, payments management for homeowners versus personalization for homeowners? We zoom out even more. If you're managing multiple teams, then we are all used to creating business cases, and then we basically quantify the overall opportunity. And this we also use to basically shift priorities, to ask for additional funding. So depending on the context and depending on where you are sitting with product and how much influence you can have to them, actively create these kind of reports. I haven't basically linked any templates for opportunities and business cases, because you may have your own templates in your companies, and there are a lot of free resources out there that you could use. But this really actively helps those insights get used. And like from my own experience, like one of the business cases I submitted, I heard about it 6 months later, and there was a team funded. So it could take time, but at least you have done your work in actually driving that. So just to recap on the who and why, buckle up on understanding the audience yourself. We are the ones who are ultimately accountable. Have the full and long-term picture. I gave some examples of how you can do so. And then think about more than insights. How can this really be a priority? Okay, moving on to chapter 2. So now you have basically created all these insights. You've fought to get the team on board, and everyone is brainstorming and has come up with the most creative way to solve that particular problem. How can product marketing then help go even faster? And I would like to now change the dynamics of this room a bit, and I will ask for audience participation. May I have one brave volunteer who can pose to be one of our homeowners? Brave gentleman, what's your name? Daniel. Okay, super. So ladies and gentlemen, please meet Daniel. So Daniel, this is your... So Daniel, this is your situation. You have inherited a beautiful holiday home from your great-grandmother on one of the Greek islands, and you want to make money off it, right? So you have put it on Booking.com. The reason why I am asking for Daniel's help is because in the next section, I'm going to show some examples of product solutions that Booking has released in the past, and it'll just be easier for everybody to understand now with Daniel helping us. So the product team is hard at work. Daniel's registered his property on Booking. And the first learning that I would like to share is that as a product marketer, even while the MVP or the concept is being built, there is a lot more work that we can do already in terms of positioning. And what I mean is it's way more than just messaging and value proposition work. So let's take our attention to that screenshot over here. Let's imagine all of us are booking our next summer holiday to Greece, okay, as travelers. If you want to stay in a 5-star property, if you want to stay in a 5-star hotel, what would you do? You look for the 5-star filter on a booking website, right? And then that will basically pop up all of the 5-star hotels there. But let's say you're traveling with 8 people and you want to stay in a home, you want to stay in a holiday home with a swimming pool. But there isn't an objective way anywhere in the world to know which private properties would also make that cut. So what Booking has done is basically in the last month, actually, we have released an industry first way of rating vacation rental properties across the world. And the 4 tiles that you see is an equivalent of a 4-star vacation rental property. Now, when we search on Booking.com, Daniel's property is going to show up alongside all of the other 4-star hotels. And that's really cool. So then I can actually book, any one of us can actually book Daniel's property. But if you're a product marketer working on a solution like this, what all do you need to do? We have to explain to Daniel why this is good for him, right? Why this is going to get him more business. We have to explain the machine learning and the 400 parameters that went into calculating this. But then Daniel also can tell us, hey, but actually in Greece, the government has given me a 4-star rating already. I have a certificate to prove it. And then we say, okay, is that really the case? Okay, then which rating should Daniel keep? That involves a lot of legal, data privacy, and commercial stakeholder management. And then Daniel can also call up customer service and say that, hey, I want to actually improve my rating from 4-star to 5-star. So customer service should, 1, know that this solution's gone out there, and 2, can help Daniel with the right response. So a lot of work is being done even when the product is being built by the product marketer. Can a product manager do all this? Yes, I'm sure they can, but it would just take double the time. So what we've learned is that by really functioning as the commercial, operational, legal arm of the product manager, product marketing can really help go fast when it comes to launching new solutions. The second example I'd like to give is Daniel says that he has a beautiful orchard at the back of his holiday home where there are fresh fruits, and he wants to serve fresh fruits to his guests for breakfast. And he also wants to put that on his property page. He's like, I don't want to change anything else, but I want to mention that because I think that's going to make my property unique. So we are going to tell Daniel, yes, there is absolutely a possibility you can do that. We have something called host profiles. Cecile's done it. Cecile saw great results. You can also do this. But the point I'm trying to make here is that, especially if you come from large organizations where in a different unit, something may already have been tested and tried. As product marketers, our network, we should not underestimate it. Even all those coffee catch-ups, all those alignment meetings, even knowing that a certain solution was tried elsewhere, was it a success, was it a failure, why didn't it go ahead? Doing this kind of homework already for the product owner is so much help, and that is what I mean by repackaging existing opportunities. In this specific example, we already had a part of this functionality built. It was never used. But in our case, we decided to repackage it and actually use it. So benefit from your organization's network, and you may not have to reinvent the wheel. When we think of repackaging, we think, okay, the solution exists, the user doesn't understand it, so let's try and re-explain it in a way that the user would understand. But here we are going a step further, doing that investigation already on what we could essentially reuse within the organization, and there could be a lot of opportunities. And you do all this, but you will still need to do, your homework as a product marketer. You'll still need to see how do you want to call it. So, okay, we call it a host profile. How are you going to explain it? Which audiences should you roll this out to? What would the roadmap look like? The last example I'm going to give in the how is your new solutions could actually benefit other segments. And in this particular example, so let's say Daniel says, hey, I don't want people who are going to party in my holiday home. Promise, Daniel, this is the last example. And so we've basically launched a house rules section for travelers, which they must review and acknowledge before they book. And in the rare case, okay, somebody breaks a glass or something happens over there, the hosts can actually report it immediately and get help from customer service. Why I'm calling out this example is because as you are developing solutions and as you are testing them, even in the testing phase, it's a good idea to communicate plans because there might be, so in our case, there are a lot of account managers who actually take care of core properties, and they provided great feedback saying that actually this could benefit our segment as well. So already when you are in the MVP phase and concept phase, try and create that long-term map in terms of which segments could you possibly expand the solution onto. And in this case, it's amazing because we have made an investment into a new category, but in the end, it's actually benefiting our core category as well. And then obviously you still need to do the homework around product market fit, how you're going to scale it, and how do you do a value proposition both for, for different categories. So Again, just for inspiration for you, these are things that we have observed that have worked, in the last 3-4 years that we have been working on this category. Is positioning is really more than messaging. Think all-round commercial, think operational, legal, everything, and you can really enhance the product's time to market. Repackaging existing could be an option, especially when your teams are trying and testing a lot of things at the same time, and your core business and other segments could also benefit from your developments. Okay. I'm going to give a few examples in terms of then how we approached the communication for this particular category. I don't have any best cases that I marked out for the launch per se. But basically, in the last years, we have launched a lot of 360-degree campaigns for homeowners around the world. For this particular segment, we had to reassess all the channels. We had to relook at how does it make sense to basically approach a category. I think you need to do that for any new category that you work on. I did not have the luxury of having an account management or a sales team that I could put on this. So we had to think digital, we had to think scalable, social. We had to think what made sense for the end user and for us. So a lot of campaigns have been going out towards homeowners, and maybe, you will see some of these as well. If you're working on a two-sided marketplace, you also have to think about the other end of the spectrum, and for us, that means travelers. Now, I heard earlier that some of you, we were speaking to a few of you, and they said, oh, we didn't know Booking actually has homes. We thought it's primarily for hotels. So we also need to do that work in changing perception. So if you have been traveling around Europe the last few years, you would have seen a lot of these nice, quirky advertisements where Booking is actually educating, the other side of the market in terms of, the new category we are investing in and how many apartments that we have and how many homes that we have. And then you do all this, and then, hopefully the tabloids start to take notice. And these are just a few screenshots of Booking making the news, with all the investments that we are doing in this category. And it's great because as product marketeers, ultimately it's you who is owning all the upstream and downstream communication. So you will see snippets of your messaging, your value proposition in these articles, also with what, our CEO there, Glenn Fogel, in the far right is actually saying. So basically, to end, take away this is a one-sentence summary of everything I've been speaking about. Okay, if you have to react to a situation, if you have to adapt yourself to a new category, help steer change by going fast. And yes, we all know that we have to master the who, but also master the why. Try and proactively feed that into your product organization. And you can really influence time to market by thinking more than value propositions and messaging. And if you do all that, you can be better prepared and sooner prepared for launching anything, because no point going to the market with a product that's not ready. So you do all this and your product can be ready faster, and you'll have a better story to tell. I'm going to end with some good reads, which I like a lot. I've made references to both of these in the presentation. None of the strategies are from these books, but I personally like the books. One is Positioning by Al Ries and Jack Trout, and the other one, which is a classic, which I think a few of you might know already, The Innovator's Dilemma. And that's it. If you have any questions, please do reach out. Please do connect on LinkedIn, and you can also reach out to me. But otherwise, I'm quite happy to take questions if we have any time.